You say something over dinner, something you know will start something. Maybe it's about money, how much things cost now, how different it was back then. Maybe it's about how you were raised, the choices they made that you'd never make yourself. Maybe it's politics. It doesn't really matter what. You know the words. You've used them before. They used to light a fire every single time. Your mother pauses, sets down her chopsticks, looks at the table. You wait for it. That flash in her eyes, that tightening in her voice, that thing she always used to do before she pushed back. But it doesn't come. Nothing comes. The room is just quiet. 5 years ago, this would have been a war. 10 years ago, she would have had an answer before you finished the sentence. But tonight, she just picks up her chopsticks again and keeps eating. And part of you thinks good. Less fighting, fewer difficult dinners. Maybe she's finally learned to let things go. Maybe this is what peace looks like. But that's not what's actually happening. That silence is not peace. It's a decision, that silence. Most people read it wrong. They see a parent who's mellowed out, a mother who doesn't care as much anymore. But if you pay attention, something feels off. As people get older, something quietly shifts in how they experience time. Not the clock on the wall, the time they have left. And when that shift happens, when the horizon moves closer, things start to rearrange. Not dramatically, not overnight, but deeply. There's actually a name for this in psychology: socio-emotional selectivity. It sounds clinical, but it's actually something you've probably felt. When the future feels shorter, people stop investing in being right. They start investing in being close. The opinions that used to be worth a war about how you live, what you believe, the choices you make, they quietly stop mattering as much as the person sitting across the table. Your mother didn't wake up one morning and decide to stop arguing. It happened in pieces. As the horizon moved closer, the math changed. And the equation she's solving now has nothing to do with who's right or wrong. It's about what she can afford to lose. Think of it as a shift, from fighting to defend a position, to yielding to preserve a relationship. That's not weakness. That's emotional survival. When you've spent decades building a family, and you can feel the edges of that time getting closer, you stop asking, "Am I right?" That question stops mattering. A different one takes its place. Will they still come back? At first glance, this looks like maturity, like wisdom, like a parent who's finally grown past the need to argue. But the feeling underneath is not quite that. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you've ever sat across from a parent who agrees with everything you say and something in your chest told you it wasn't right, you know what I mean? Your father used to argue about everything. The electric bill, the way you parked the car, whether the news anchor was lying. He had an opinion about everything, and he wasn't shy about it. Now you say something he clearly disagrees with, something that would have started a 20-minute debate 5 years ago, and he just nods. "You're right," he says. 2 words. No fight. You might think he's mellowed, but watch his hands. The way they tighten around his cup. Watch the way his jaw sets for just a moment before the words come out. That pause before he speaks. That slight breath. That's not a man who changed his mind. That's a man who decided in less than a second that being right isn't worth what it might cost him. This isn't just your family, by the way. This pattern shows up everywhere. Psychologists have actually studied it. They call it communication accommodation. As people age, their communication style shifts from competitive to cooperative. And the reason isn't what you'd expect. It's not that they agree with you more. It's that the cost of disagreeing has changed. It used to cost pride. Now, it costs something else. It costs proximity. Maybe it wasn't one specific conversation that changed things, but somewhere along the way, across dozens of small moments you probably don't even remember, each argument started ending with a silence that lasted a little longer, a call that comes a little later than it used to, a visit that feels shorter, not dramatically shorter, just enough that you notice on the drive home. And somehow, without anyone marking the moment, there's distance. Not a lot, just enough. And here's the thing, they feel it more sharply than you'd think, because you have 100 relationships pulling at your attention. Your work, your partner, your kids. Your friends, they may have just a handful. And yours is the one they can't afford to lose. And at some point, it hits you. They didn't stop arguing because they had nothing left to say. They stopped because they're no longer sure that saying it won't cost them you. Sit with that for a moment. The person who raised you, who fought for you, who used to have an opinion about everything you did, that person now sits across from you and chooses silence. Not because the opinion is gone, not because they suddenly agree, but because the risk of voicing it, of pushing back, of being honest feels too high. The stakes used to be about the argument. Now the stakes are about the relationship. It's as if each time they speak, their words fall a little lighter than before, land a little softer, carry a little less weight at the table. You don't notice it at first, but they do. They feel their voice getting smaller in the room. And rather than fight for that weight back, rather than demand to be heard the way they used to be, they choose something else. They step back, not changing who they are, but quietly redefining what safe means in their relationship with you. And here's the part that might sting a little. You want your parents to be honest with you. You've probably said it out loud, just tell me what you really think. He can handle it. But every time they do, you react. You push back. You correct them. You explain patiently, or not so patiently, why they're wrong, why the world has changed, why they don't understand. And over time, they may have quietly learned something painful. That honesty in your relationship comes with a price. That being real with you costs something. And at some point, without telling you, without a conversation about it, they decided the price was too high. And this doesn't happen in a single conversation. It doesn't happen in a fight or after one bad phone call. It's a very slow process. So slow that no one marks the day it started. You don't remember the last real argument. You can't point to the moment they stopped pushing back. It just faded. Like a sound that gets quieter so gradually you don't notice it's gone until the room is already silent. And by then, whatever you want is already replaced. I think we should. And no one remembers agreeing to that. You can actually see it if you pay attention. When your parents agree with everything too quickly, when they never push back, when every answer is, it's up to you, or whatever you think is best. When you ask where they want to eat and they say, anywhere is fine, and you can tell from their face that it's not fine, but they've already decided it's not worth the conversation. When you offer them a choice and they just give it back to you every time, that might not be respect. It might be a quiet way of stepping back, of protecting the relationship by removing themselves from it. There is something you can do, though. Instead of enjoying how easygoing they've become, try something different. Ask, what do you really think, Mom? Or, Dad, I actually want to know. Not the polite answer, the real one. And when they answer and they will hesitate because they've learned to don't correct them, don't explain why they're wrong. Don't even nod like you're being generous about it. Just listen. Actually listen. Not to respond, to hear, and accept that the answer might surprise you. It might frustrate you. It might not make sense. But that's not the point. The point isn't agreement. The point is that they still feel safe enough to disagree. That's it. That's the whole thing. So, let's go back to that dinner table. Your mother sets down her chopsticks, looks down, says nothing. Now you see it. That's not surrender. That's not giving up. That's a woman who is choosing you over choosing to be right. Next time you sit across from your parents, don't just hear what they say. Listen for what they decided not to say. Because somewhere in that quiet is everything they're still holding on to.